Oh, forgot to take the lens cap off. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. This is Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. This is always the challenge of doing a morning show where you promise you're not going to have any caffeine before the show starts. You're not necessarily running at your best. Ooh. But here we are. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, all the rest of you. Whether you're watching live later or listening, thank you for coming by for another episode of First Cup. How was your Tuesday? What did you do? I recorded podcast episodes and worked in the yard and went to the gym and went to the range and cleaned up the house a little bit. It was actually a really productive day. It was 2 days in a row being super productive. Let's see if today can keep that trend going. Good morning, Jenny. Today was supposed to be a little bit different. I was scheduled to, up until Monday, I was scheduled to give a presentation on productivity and efficiency involving technology. And it's summer in Vermont and not enough people signed up. So they said, hey, we're going to cancel this and hopefully reschedule for the fall. So we will hopefully reschedule for the fall. But that leaves me with no meetings, because even the meeting I was going to have today, we rescheduled. So I've got to do the books, and everything else on my plate today is catching up on stuff like all the email I didn't get to yesterday. Who else is here? Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, John. Good morning, Stacy. You guys are all ridiculous, and I love it. Oh, that was this on my leg. I don't know if I told you guys. On Sunday evening, I found a tick crawling on my foot. Now, I'm 99% sure I picked it up when I was at the farm. It was not embedded. It was just on me. And I grabbed it, took some very close-up photos, put it in a glass, sprayed it with hand sanitizer, and then set it on fire. Yes, that is what I did. I've never had a tick on me at my house, knock on wood. And that's part of why I encourage the birds to be around, because the birds are here. Probably aren't going to be a lot of ticks. Between ticks hang out on mice and birds eat mice and birds eat ticks, so we're good there. Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Brian. But if you've ever had that experience of having some kind of bug on you that you were not particularly fond of being on you, every sensation, it's like, is that a bug? Is that a bug on me? Is that a bug? And so that's what's been going on there. Some bug bites on my legs and, scratching at it. It's a bump and it's like, is that a tick? So I just did a quick tick check. Anybody else remember being a kid and coming inside and playing? Well, maybe you all didn't play in the woods. I grew up in Maine. I played in the woods. Mom, I'm going to go play in the woods. That's literally what happened. Okay. Don't go too far. How far was that? I don't know. Sometimes it was quite far. It's like, oh, I haven't been here before. And come back. And she's like, all right, tick check. And I would stand in the kitchen and strip down to my underwear and make me put my arms up. And she'd look at my arm. And sometimes there were ticks because I was in the woods. Good morning, Kelly. Kelly says, seems rather dramatic against the tick. Absolutely. I dislike them. I dislike their whole existence. They are responsible for having a significant impact on wildlife populations. populations. They're bringing down moose, truly. And I just, there are some things in nature that I just look at. And I'm like, I don't understand where you fit in the in the in the in the grand scheme. And parasitic animals are one of those, right? Like mosquitoes don't need to exist. Ticks don't need to exist. And if ticks didn't spread disease, I wouldn't hate them so much. And Jenny says, I almost spat my water out when you said, and then set it on fire. Yeah. So I pulled it out of a glass, and it was starting to shrivel like it, because they breathe through their skin, right? So the hand sanitizer, the alcohol in it, was drying it out. And it was not doing well. And I was like, I don't want anything to suffer. So I just set it on fire, burned it to charred ash. Stupid thing. Jenny says, never played in the woods, even during the time I lived in the Poconos, but I did play barefoot in the street until the street lights turned on. Well, that's something. I love the trees. I love being in the woods. I love, it's part of why I live where I live. I am slowly building barriers on all four sides that involve trees. If I have my way, assuming I live here for longer, who knows where I live. But if I stay here for a while, one would come down the road and say, oh, I think that's Jeremy's house. And you wouldn't even be able to tell. And that's what I want. Good morning, Gad. Dennis says, I'm from the Bronx. We played in the concrete jungle. Never had to worry about ticks. But the skunks and raccoons were aplenty. More than one of my friends growing up got skunked. See, that's a thing I would never expect in the city. That's surprising to me. Growing up, people didn't generally get skunked, but dogs did. Dog would come back, and it was not uncommon for someone to come to school and everybody just kind of go, and somebody say, yep, it's me. The dog got skunked. I had to help my mom bathe the dog. It was like 2 o'clock when I was able to go back to bed. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm doing my best. I'll be like, yeah, you smell like a skunk. Go sit by the window. Brian says, my mother's originally from Connecticut. She got a tick bite when she was 12. Only got diagnosed with Lyme disease years later as a result. Stupid ticks. John says, ticks have been a regular part of my life since I was very young. It's a wonder I've not contracted a tick-borne illness. I've had a few embedded that I've had to pull out over the years. 2, 3, not a ton. But here's the thing, and I think this is important for everyone to know. If you end up with a tick, and it is embedded in you, save it. Do not throw it away. Do not save it. You need to save it because it needs to be tested. Here's the other thing. If you want to be really smart about it, if you get a tick embedded in you, let's be real, it doesn't happen often for people. There are multiple kinds of Lyme disease. I think it's 14. The test that medical insurance will pay for covers, I think it's 2, the most common 2. How do I know this? I know 3 people who had Lyme for years that their conventional physician said they don't have Lyme because they didn't trigger the test that they were given. In all 3 cases, it took a naturopath looking at them and saying, you have all the symptoms of Lyme. I'm going to run the comprehensive test that insurance doesn't pay for. And now they are able to handle life. If I had a tick embedded in me and I was concerned, I would have that more comprehensive test done. People need to know about this, especially in New England where we have ticks all over the place. Jenny says, I've had my share of ticks over the course of my lifetime, but my earliest memory of a bug on me was when Dad found a black widow spider on my back. Not sure where the heck the thing came from in the city, but I thought it was the coolest thing. I love bugs to this day. I love bugs too. I don't love them in my house, and I don't love them when they bite me. If we cannot check one of those boxes, bugs are great. Go be a bug. Now, over on the Facebook page, I posted a question that I thought was a little silly, might get a couple responses, and it might be the most responded to comment we've ever had on the first Facebook page. And we're going to read through that at the end of the show. But this question is, I had to phrase it right. If you were required to choose, would you rather grow an extra arm and hand or a leg and foot? We'll discuss from a combat perspective. So you can go ahead and you can jump over there, leave your comment, and we'll read them later. Most of you did exactly what I had hoped for. You picked one and you explained it. And you talked and you thought about it. That was really cool. So, good job. All right. So we're going to switch gears here. Frank gave us something to talk about. Today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Oh, and by the way, thank you to Frank for all of the work that he does. I really appreciate him. Reminder, because he just got this going. Again, we worked through the issues. He worked through the issues and we figured it out. Well, I shouldn't say that. He figured it out. You can always subscribe to the podcast. And if you love this show, maybe you want to subscribe to the podcast just to boost the numbers. Number one. Number two, you can leave ratings and reviews, and those help us. You know, we really are at a point as a company where it's the ratings and the reviews that I think are holding us back. I've been thinking about this. We're probably going to make a more concerted effort to really tell people, like, can you please go here, do this, go here, do this, go here, do this, please. Every year on the 15th of June, it's time to observe World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. The abuse of the elderly is a serious issue and something that this day aims to raise much needed awareness of. At the end, unless I get distracted, I'll sort of tell you a little bit about a personal experience that's kind of close to this. The elderly should be given support and protection all year round, and today ensures that their plight is not ignored. Financial, emotional, or physical abuse and neglect can be a real everyday issue for some elders in the world. In fact, it is estimated that around 500,000 elders in the UK alone are being subjected to elder abuse today. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day encourages us to make steps towards a world where elder abuse is no longer an issue by raising awareness and providing resources and information to help the battle against it. The United Nations General Assembly designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in its 66-127 resolution. It is meant to be a day in which the entire world voices its opposition to any form of abuse of the older generation. And just as an aside, I don't know if we're gonna get there. Elder abuse doesn't look the same as other kinds of abuse. In my understanding, in my observations, generally neglect. That's the biggest form of abuse of the elderly. It's them not receiving what they need, not receiving adequate healthy food, not receiving social interaction, not being bathed adequately. It's that stuff. It's the way scummy people treat pets. They're just kind of furniture. They're just kind of there, and they do the bare minimum to keep them in existence. The amount of older people in the world is growing and will continue to do so. In fact, pretty much all countries in the world are expecting considerable growth in the number of elderly residents between 2015 and 2030. Despite it being an accepted issue across the world and the subject of much opposition, elder abuse is one of the least investigated types of violence, and it does not get addressed in national action plans as frequently as many other key social issues. Because in Western society, we put our old people out to pasture and we're just like, yep, we don't need to worry about them. Except in politics. Anybody else notice this? The only place where we seem to value people being really old and having lots of experiences in political circles. Look at the average age of a lot of politicians in the United States. We would never hire those people in corporate jobs. It blows my mind. Those of advanced age have a full right to being treated with dignity and respect and to live a life free of any abuse, exploitation, or neglect. Today seeks to ensure that as few elderly people as possible are subjected to homelessness, bad health, hunger, and poverty. There are a number of ways you can help fundraise for the cause of this day if you so wish. You can also donate to charities which support the elderly and their well-being. Perhaps today you could play your part by volunteering somewhere which ensures the happiness of the elderly, such as a retirement home. You could also visit an elderly relative and spend some time chatting or having a cup of tea. Be sure to spread the word by posting about the day on your social media accounts. So I do a few things. The first one, and maybe not so obvious, we gently prioritize older martial artists on Martial Arts Radio. Because I truly believe that the stories, the wisdom of the older generations are of extreme value. That's number one. Number two, there are some older people that I talk to. There's this one woman, and she's got plenty of kids and grandkids, but she's 92, 3. Was running marathons in like her late 70s. She's remarkable. And we have great conversations. And so every month or two, like we'll get on the phone for sometimes 2 hours and just chat. And then the other thing that I think we can all do, and it's one that I think we don't want to think about, long-term care insurance. Having adequate long-term care insurance, I'm not going to say solves all of these problems, but solves a lot of them. Something to keep in mind. Good discussion about bugs going on in here. I'm going to read John's comment here about Lyme. So we've come out of elder abuse. If anybody has anything to tack on to that, go ahead, drop it in the chat. John says, I was given thorough testing for Lyme's a couple months ago and was all negative. I didn't have any symptoms, but my new doctor has been finding and treating a lot of Lyme's disease locally over the past year. So he has been testing anyone who's had a lot of exposure to ticks. Most of the people he has been treating for Lyme's are from a local Amish community. That's really interesting. That's the part I wanted to read. I skim, as you guys, because sometimes you guys put a lot of comments in here. Yep, lots of bug talk. Oh, Frank. All this talk of insects is bugging me. Please stop. All right. So imagine some weird radioactive bug bites you. And you go into some gestation period and you're able to chew. You have this extra limb that has to grow. Is it going to be an extra arm? Full arm, fully articulated, shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers, hand, right? Or leg, hip, knee, ankle, toes. Are you going to be a 3-legged person or a 3-armed person? And I want you, because it's a martial arts show, to think about this from a combat perspective. Now let's see what we got. Brian says extra arm and hand. I could tripod handstand and helicopter with my feet. Really catch them off guard. Plus, you could color like nobody's business. Imagine 2 crayons at once. Well, here's the question. Why can't you use 2 crayons at once now? You have 2 hands. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is our ability to move arms and legs independently, right? How many of us know the pat your head, rub your belly? Let's see. I got to start with the rub the belly part, right? Not everyone can do that. It's complicated. How many of us in sparring are able to operate independently in multiple planes with two arms or legs, working with multiple partners, multiple attackers in self-defense drills is, I think, one of the best ways to work this, because you've got things that you have to do. Now, for the most part, we are quickly switching. It's a focus here, focus here, focus here, focus here. But you can shorten the time in those transitions. I think I told you one of the things that I've been working on is brushing my teeth with my left hand, as well as brushing my teeth, generally right-handed, and doing other things. So like brushing my teeth and like putting things away. Kelly, oh Frank, such a buzzkill. I like that. I like that a lot. You guys are ridiculous. Next. Dennis says, I'm a boxer, so third arm and hand all day. If I'm able to throw in a request for a third eye too, for the back of my head, maybe that could help me see Superfoot's hook kicks before he smacks my noggin with them. I'm going to say no, because I still can't stop his roundhouse kicks. So I love that you guys put some thought into this. This makes me really happy. Andrew says arm and hand. I can use it for everything. Blocking, grabbing, striking. Leg and foot really only gives me striking. Yes, arguments could be made for blocking with legs, but it's not something I'm that familiar with. So arm and hand for me. So I agree. My response would be an extra leg gives you different footwork options, and footwork options that we really even can't consider. And I think the best way to think about it is think of your whatever alien movie where they are advanced species of aliens, and they have space travel, and they come here and they're fighting Earth, and they've got 4 to 6 legs on the ground. They don't move the same way we do. They move quite differently, and I suspect that footwork would actually be the greater asset out of an extra leg. And Brian says, I'm also going to need that extra arm to block all the extra feet. Gad says, leg and foot, more stability indeed. And Jenny's shared with us what her husband, Matt, is saying. Matt, you're overthinking this, as one might expect, if you know Matt at all. Where's it growing from? Because that will determine my answer. Without a shoulder and a hip, they're both pretty useless. Your body slightly repositions, right? Like you end up with triangle shoulders and or triangle hips. It follows up. If I choose an extra leg, does it still have the same knee problems? You come out of your cocoon, reset to 0. You have no knee problems. Stacy says, extra leg and foot. My balance is a hot mess, and one knee and ankle are relatively unstable. Chris is in here advocating for a tail, which was not an option. So those of you in the chat, what would you choose? Extra arm and hand? Extra leg and foot? And why? Kelly says, I think a third leg would be hard to move and figure out. I'd go extra arm just because so many times I've wished I had an extra arm just carrying in groceries, because you got to try to do it in one trip. Yeah. I don't think there's anything that more ridiculously feels like a failure in life than having to make 2 trips bringing in your groceries. There's absolutely no reason for it to feel like a failure. There's nothing else I do where I have to carry everything all at once but groceries. Now, lately, that's not a problem because, I buy 1 bag at a time. But once in a while, yeah. Although if I shop at Costco and there aren't bags, and I don't even bother taking boxes from them. I have to bring things in, a few things at a time. Fortunately, I park the car kind of in the house right there, and I can just walk Josh says, I guess an extra leg attached to the lower body would be like a tail. If I could use it as a support or use it like a monkey to hang from, I'd choose a leg. Can you hang from a leg now? You can. I think you kind of need two. I've done plenty of hanging from bars or trees in my life, and I don't think I ever would have done it with one leg. It's a lot of pressure on the knee. I think you need two. But great idea. Dennis says, is there such a thing as making two trips to carrying groceries? I think not. I'm not going to read all these insect jokes because I want to encourage those of you who watch later, or rather who listen, because if you watch later, primarily on Facebook, you're getting all these jokes. But there's some funny stuff here. Jenny says, heck, I'm still trying to figure out how to coordinate the 4 limbs I have. A 5th one would just mean readjusting everything I've done my whole life to this point. So I can't choose. Just surprise me. Well, if you want to be surprised, we could put a hand on the end of your leg. We could put a foot on the end of your arm. I don't think that would be terribly helpful. I was watching a discussion on Facebook yesterday. My structural integrator friend, who's also an occupational therapist, was posing. One of his kid's 4, asked, why, as pretend my hand is a foot, why do toes get shorter as they get further out? Why is the little toe so much smaller than the big toe? And he didn't have an answer. And it was interesting watching people's conversation, responding to it. I like thinking about those kinds of things. I'm sure there's an actual evolutionary reason. My thought, which was also what somebody else in that chat, in that group, post said, was it's to reduce stubbing your toe. What toe do we generally stub? The little one. Imagine if it was longer. How much more would we stub it? A lot. Stacy says, foot on the end of your arm could help in capoeira. It could. It absolutely could. If you want to see what is... So some of you may know that there's a tremendous amount of overlap in like 80s style breakdancing, which has come back tremendously, and capoeira. A lot of the movements are direct one-to-one correlations. I was flipping through TikTok this morning after I woke up at 4:40 because of the bird tapping on the window. This is day 3, by the way, and he was doing it all yesterday. I did go back to bed. I slept on the couch for an hour, but got up and was flipping through TikTok, and apparently one of the dance groups that I'm familiar with, Jabberwockies, performed at the NBA Finals, and it was them doing a routine, and some of the most extreme stuff I've ever seen. And it was a lot of inverted stuff and really great. If you like capoeira, you'd probably like watching that style of dance. Anybody else have a vote? I think it was roughly split. I didn't count. There's no winner. Good morning, Avil. My apologies if I'm not saying your name right. Stacy says Jabberwockies are awesome. They really are. Here's a good one. And on Gad says, I would have the 3rd leg growing out of my backside if possible. I'll have my own martial art called Tripodo. Nice. Awesome stuff. You know, I give you that kind of stuff because I want you to think. I want you to think about the limitations that we have and the opportunities we have. If you've done any of the slow training work with me, you know that that's a huge component of it. I break you down. I give you at various points, one arm or one leg or, just the left side of your body, so that when you finally get the opportunity to use everything, you see how versatile we really are. Well, try going through something that you do. Maybe it's a form, and imagine How would I do this form with 3 arms? How would I do this form with 3 legs? What would it look like? What would a lot of you, I think, are looking at it as a limitation. It's an asset. More limbs is an asset. We just have to reframe our mindset. So give it some thought. I'm probably not going to post a question or comment for tomorrow, but maybe the next day. If you want to support us in the work that we do at Whistlekick to connect, educate, and entertain the martial artists of the world, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. You can leave ratings or reviews somewhere. You can buy something at whistlekick.com with the code FIRSTCUP15. And if you want the entire list of all the things from the free to the paid, the easy to the slightly more time consuming, go to whistlekick.com/family. You got to type it in. If you've got questions or comments, feedback, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com, or post something over on the Facebook page. We are First Cup, the only martial arts morning show, live 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. You can watch it later. You can listen to it in audio form, but hopefully you will join us live at least once in a while because we have a lot of fun here. I appreciate each and every one of you. There's no better way for me to wake up than a cup of coffee and all of you to talk to. I hope you have a great day. I hope you get done what you need to get done. Hope you find some time to get some training in. Something makes you smile. And if nothing else, go listen to an episode of Martial Arts Radio. Or here, let me put in a plug real quick. Martial Journal. Are you all aware of martialjournal.com? Martialjournal.com is the website that we very quietly administer. It is a volunteer effort with amazing content. It is professionally run, and you get a few new articles each and every week. There's no cost. You just got to go to martialjournal.com. If you want to write, some of you have written for Martial Journal. Hopefully more of you will write for Martial Journal. So go check it out. Jenny says, yay, Martial Journal. Yay, indeed. All right, everybody. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.